What's going on, Postcard Pros? Today's postcard teardown is a special one. You're getting a $200 million postcard teardown for free. How amazing is that? Now, today's postcard teardown, it's actually a series of postcards, and it's about Prop 22. It was a proposition here on the California ballot to basically force Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates to classify their gig worker drivers as employees versus app-based contractors. So this sort of requires some context. There's $200 million that was spent to promote the Yes campaign. That was the Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, etc. And then there was $20 million on the No campaign, which were like union activists, etc. Now, there's a lot to learn about what a $200 million postcard campaign looks like now. They didn't spend it all on postcards, but judging by the amount of postcards I got, they spent a lot of it on postcards. And the thing that you'll notice when we do this teardown here is that there's a lot of repetition. So we're going to go over like 3, 4, 5, 6 postcards. And we've already looked at a couple on this channel so far. So that's something. And the other thing is that the messaging is pretty consistent. And it's very clever in the things that the campaign decides to focus on. So without further ado, I'm going to get into it. So the overwhelming majority of drivers support yes on Prop 22. So I'm just going to say a little about that. According to the Washington Post, I did a little reading ahead of time, and apparently these are just polls that Uber and Lyft, etc., took on their own that were very unscientific. So very clever here that using words like an overwhelming majority, it usually means that we don't have great data here. So that's something to pay attention. Protects hundreds of thousands of jobs by preserving flexible schedules. So this is, again, like the puppies thing that we talked about earlier. It's like, who wouldn't want flexible schedules? But basically, this is a subtle threat to fire everyone if there's a million gig workers, to fire all a million of them if Uber and Lyft have to classify them as employees. So very clever way that they basically said, you're agreeing to let people go if you vote no. Earn extra income. So I don't know what this is about. It's a little unclear here because, I don't know what they mean by earn extra income. If you're an employee, I mean, maybe they're going to pay them lower wages versus working on and off and getting bonuses, etc. But super unclear. New earnings guarantee. Couldn't find any earnings guarantee, and new healthcare benefits. So there were some healthcare benefits here, but obviously if you're an employee, you get healthcare as sort of part of that package. So very, very tricky sort of series of messaging here that really you could make arguments that a no would actually do these things better. And then they actually put people here. So this is it's a great tactic. There's and notice these faces, you'll see them again in some of these other pieces. Instacart driver, Lyft driver. So there's not a lot of content here, and that should tell you something generally if you're reading this just as a consumer. But as a marketer, there's a lot of things to be learned by this type of approach, right? Framing your message in a way that is that makes it hard to disagree with you. Like, who wouldn't want to support worker flexibility? All right, let's look at the back here. Save app-based services and jobs. So again, this is basically the company is making a threat to fire all a million people to leave California. We heard that messaging a lot if they have to treat their app drivers as employees. So very clever for them to sort of make this argument that if you vote yes, you're agreeing to keep these services. A vote no would mean that you don't want Uber or Lyft, etc. So again, really kind of brilliant framing. Also, this is something that they did exceptionally well, and we looked at a postcard previously. Yes, Prop 22 will save lives. Mothers against drunk driving. It's like, who could ever be for drunk driving? Well, basically, Uber and Lyft said, we're going to pull out, and therefore people will be more inclined to drive drunk, and people will die because you wanted to support folks getting guaranteed employment, basically. So really clever framing, again. Don't stifle the gig economy, San Francisco Chronicle. sure, changing 1 million people's status, there's a lot of unintended consequences there. So that's a good argument as well. Preserving as many opportunities for consumers and drivers. Provides a suite of tangible benefits, including wage guarantees and healthcare contributions. Yes 22 keeps services available in underserved neighborhoods. That argument makes a lot of sense to me, because if you've got a bunch of employees, you have to be tactical about where you deploy that workforce. But if it's like a surge in demand, it's easier to do that in a contract model. Protecting the flexibility of the gig economy for companies and workers. So you can see that they didn't try to accomplish the moon with this piece, right? It's like, hey, here's kind of 3 bullet points, and by the way, here are all other of these groups that support yes. That's one postcard. We're not even like halfway there yet. Okay, the vast majority of app-based drivers say yes on 22. Again, like, that what someone is saying is not to be believed if there's no stat about the source. I mean, just generally across the board, regardless of what you think about Prop 22, there's no source here or independent research here that said this. And they have access to these drivers, right? So you would think that they could have got this information if it was supported. Okay, this is good, right? Let's this is a foldable piece, so let's take a look. A new benefits and earnings guarantee. I think that this is trying to muddy the water by saying, doesn't yes mean I support drivers? I support them having more benefits, getting more. So that's the kind of post-election analysis that I've read that says that a lot of people were confused about what yes meant, and it's clear that the companies were attempting to blur that line about what really is best for drivers and what are drivers saying. So by 4-1, okay, look, I like that, right? We're talking about numbers here now. And again, I don't know where they get this. Because 80% of rideshare and food delivery drivers work less than 20 hours per week, flexibility is critical. That's a super great point. Under Prop 22, drivers can work around other jobs or responsibilities. So basically, this is kind of making a assumption that these drivers do other things versus maybe work for other app-based companies. Including guaranteed hourly earnings for all drivers, per mile compensation towards vehicle expenses, and healthcare benefits starting at just 15 hours a week. So, and then, they've got quotes from people. This is always a good idea if you can have quotes. Being able to jump from app to app works great for me. It's super flexible and I wouldn't want it any other way. Which is kind of funny, right? Because it means I don't want to be an employee of one app because I have to make a bunch of other apps to get paid more money. So I thought that's kind of a funny way to do it. Again, these are all just testimonials from drivers, right? And remember what we've seen some of these people in the other piece. I forget which ones we saw, but I think she was there. And this guy Anthony was here. Let's look at the back. So these are all just quotes, right? About, hey, my spouse lost a job due to COVID-19, and although I'm retired, I was able to make up some of my lost wages by driving. Balancing the challenges of home can't be done with a 9-to-5 job. So that's another good framing tactic, right? Is that being an employee would mean that you have to work from 9 to 5 versus having another schedule. And let's see. They did the same thing on this piece that they've done on other pieces here, and I'm just going to fold this. Just my address in the top here. Again, all of these quotes: Small Business Association, Consumer Choice Center, I don't know what that is, California Senior Advocates League, Los Angeles Daily News editorial, the NAACP California Hawaii State Conference. Interesting. That seems like just one small part of the NAACP. So again, quotes, right? You'll see that tactic come through a lot. We're not done. I'm sorry, we're not done. Drivers like me need you. Again, yes. The repetition. A 200 million ad campaign realizes that you have to hit people over and over and over again, and that's going to do so much better for you than if you send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 postcards, right? They sell a lot of postcards. So this is about this particular driver here. This is just her, right, featuring her vote yes. So clear person, call to action. Look, if you like smiling faces, vote yes. Let's go to the back. Protects hundreds of thousands, provides new benefits. We depend on money we're driving rideshare and delivering food and medicine. So again, remember the same messaging. This is implying that if folks are forced to become employees, that they will be let go, basically. That a huge portion of those million people that are working these gig jobs will just disappear. And so it's a really kind of interesting tactic and a very clever one. More than 1 million Californians depend on app-based jobs to help earn extra income. Again, connecting a yes vote with firing all those million people. By 4-to-1, drivers like us want to continue to work independently. We don't know where those stats came from internally, right? They don't say on the postcard here. Yes on 20 will provide us a new earnings guarantee, healthcare and benefits, and more. This is where they do a really good job of muddying the waters here and making it seem like that means a yes vote is to turn these app drivers into employees. Seriously, this video could go on for another 10 minutes, just so you know. $200 million. Yes on Prop 22. Again, yes on Prop 22. They need your vote, right? Yes, protects flexible work schedules, preserves app-based jobs. Again, making that same sort of connection there, that if you vote no, that they're going to lose their job. New earnings guarantees, healthcare benefits, and more. Right? That sounds like employment, doesn't it? That's not a coincidence that sounds like employment. Please join us. Yes. Oh, the NAACP of California. So there was the conference. Consumer Choice Center, Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, Black Women Organized for Political Action, the SBA. So again, this is a thing that you see in political ads a lot. Here's everyone that supports us. So let's look at the backside again. Fold over my address. By a 4-to-1 vote. These are the same people that we saw in the other campaign, right? So it's one of the things that you'll notice they did really well is they planned all their messaging ahead of time, and all they did was change the format. So they drew up all these assets. Maybe they picked 12 different people, got quotes from them, interviewed them, told their stories a little bit. And it's funny because per mile compensation towards vehicle expenses, that makes it seem like Anthony said that, but there's no quote here. So they're just taking these pictures of drivers to, it's an emotional heartstring, like, hey, don't you support these people that pick you up and deliver your food, etc. All right. We got 2 more. Same thing, right? Same messaging, different person, same messaging. We've seen this person before. We already talked about this messaging. This is a little bit different. Help save jobs, right? Yes on 22 protects independent work, provides drivers new benefits, save hundreds of thousands of jobs. Again, some portion of those people would be fired if they had to become employees. Is the assumption here? Preserves app-based services. Again, that app-based services would go away if those people had to become employees. Enhances public safety. Right. This is I think the most clever of all the tactics they use is that basically you're supporting drunk drivers if you vote no on Prop 22. Prop 22 will preserve rideshare services that help keep drunk drivers off the road. I know I've saved lives by providing my customers an easy option to get home safely when they shouldn't drive. Please join me and vote yes on 22. So that's probably their most effective messaging here, is that if you don't support Prop 22, that you support drunk drivers, and that's really clever. I would say that in any of these pieces, you'll notice that that none of this marketing says, like, protects independent work, but it doesn't really make clear the distinction between what a yes vote means. Like, oh, you get more benefits, you get hourly pay, right? They're not specific. They're not specific anywhere. They're not specific about how much hourly pay, what type of benefits. They're not specific about what percentage of drivers really do sort of support this when they understand it. And so this is kind of tactically good marketing, especially when it's just a really clever messaging strategy. I'll leave it there. And it's clever. So again, 4-to-1, drivers want same message, like protects jobs, you rely on extra income, guaranteed healthcare benefits, preserve essential rideshare. So again, making the assumption that that folks will lose their job because they have to, they can only hire so many full-time employees, or part-time employees, so they'd be able to employ fewer people. Earning guaranteed healthcare benefits, that sounds like employment to me. And that's yes on 22 is not employment. Essential rideshare and food delivery services. Again, making the assumption that if these companies were forced to employ these folks, that rideshare and delivery service would stop. And maybe it would. Maybe the cost would go up. But that's there's assumptions embedded in all these kind of messaging tactics that you should just be aware of when you're crafting your own campaign, and how you can strategically position your messaging to support your whatever outcome you're looking for. All right, this is the last of the ones that we're looking at. And again, you can see their messaging, they stick with the same thing across the board, right? Here are Los Angeles Daily News, The Chronicle, Don't Stifle the Gig Economy, Vote Yes on Prop 22, The Mercury News, The Union Tribune, and The Date here. I think this is probably one of the most articulated piece of evidence that they've used, like with all these quotes from really well-known established brands, newspapers, with a date of the quote. So of everything that we've seen, you can kind of see how, even if you don't have, I guess the word is evidence, to back up your claims here with what percentage of drivers, how much hourly income, what type of, right? These are the questions that are sort of naturally asked. If you can tie into other sort of base beliefs, like a belief that you don't want drivers driving drunk on the road, a belief that you support people to have independence, that you want people to have flexibility in their jobs, right? These things that are really hard to disagree with. If you can tie your message to those types of things that no one would disagree with, it almost doesn't matter if you have facts or statistics or really data to convince people that visceral messaging, especially if it's hammered over and over and over and over and over again with, I've probably seen 30 or 40 of these postcards, that it works. And it did. Prop 22 passed overwhelmingly. These app companies are going to use that same model in other states. And the other thing I'll say is, just as a note to repetition, we looked at this in our last postcard teardown, and this is the exact same postcard I got previously. They just sent it again, so you can see, vote yes for our schools, right? Big Apple. It was like, so repetition is super, super important. And don't take it from the folks that spend $200 million. Take it from the teachers unions too, who also are sending the exact same postcard at different times, right? It takes a while for your message to be heard and to be understood. And a lot of my clients will ask me, well, why don't I just send to 40,000 people instead of 10,000 people 4 times? Or, can I just get my message to more people? It doesn't work like that. Repetition is so important, because people will start seeing your brand over and over and over and over again. And it's that 5th, 6th, 7th thing that they'll think, I don't remember where I heard of this, but I remember that I supported Prop 22, right? That multiple exposure with that same message over and over again really makes a huge difference. And there's a reason that these ads sent these companies spent $200 million, sent a bunch of direct mail, because it works. And it did. You should congratulate yourself for learning about the most expensive political campaign for any proposition here in California. Congratulations. Congratulations on learning a little bit more about postcard marketing. You did it. You've got 2 options now. First, you can chat with me live by going to sendwithscout.com and just clicking in the bottom right-hand corner. It's me, I'm there. Or you can subscribe for more of my content where we tear down great postcards. I talk to you about all of my latest strategies, and you too can become a postcard marketing expert.